Okay, my excellent dudes, here we go. Sitting here with Saint Set, also known as the Grace of Inarius. Um, and first things first, we're going to go into what those set bonuses are. The 2, 4, and 6. So the 2-piece, Bone Armor's damage is increased by 1000%. Bone Armor, actually pretty cool. Love the ability. It damages enemies and then buffs your defense, among other things, depending on what rune you got going. So your 4 set bonus is your Bone Armor stacks are now refreshed. And pause right there. What this means is that without the armor, when you use Bone Armor, your stacks reset. I feel like the wording is very poor here. Only because, probably because I'm not as familiar with the terminology used in, I guess, video games. I don't know, I play a lot of them, you'd think I'd know more terminology, but when something is refreshed, I have a different idea of what that means. So if you're like me and you've got a different idea of what that means, when you cast Bone Armor, it pulls the bones out of enemies and gives you armor, and it even changes up the way your character looks. It applies this armor to your character, and it deals a bunch of damage when that happens. But when you go to a new group of enemies and you cast it again, it resets it and then takes whatever you pulled out and gives you a new number. So if you pulled from 10 enemies, which is where it caps, and then before it ends, you pulled from 3, now you're at 3 stacks. I hate it. That is absolutely ridiculous, and there's no reason, especially with the Witch Doctor's Soul Harvest being somewhat similar, not nearly as cool in my opinion, being somewhat similar, it refreshes. It just does. That's all there is to it. This is an old mechanic. It is archaic, and to work it into the set, that's ridiculous to me, and it's ridiculous to other people. If you watch other people's videos, this is not something that we as players are fond of. So you work it into the set, you're wearing the 4 pieces at least, it just is. If you cast on 2 enemies and then cast on another 2, you have 4. 4 stacks. It's always going to be additive up to a cap of 10. And it's pretty easy to keep it going. To just maintain 10 stacks when you've got this armor bonus. So go back to the things. Bone Armor grants an additional 2% damage reduction per enemy hit. So that's quite a bit of damage reduction. That's another 20% on top of what it's already given you. And if you're like me, you like the standalone passive a lot. So I'm using the standalone passive, giving me 100% on top of that for damage reduction. So when you've got all 6 pieces, you're looking at Bone Armor activating a Bone Tornado, damaging nearby enemies by 375% weapon damage as physical. Enemies hit by Bone Tornado take 850% additional damage from the Necromancer's abilities and minions. Now, I started calling it the Boneado set, and then I noticed other people, especially Leviathan. Leviathan is trying to push that, and I can definitely appreciate it. This is the Boneado set. So that's a thing. Um, I do appreciate this armor. I like it. Um, but I'm gonna do that thing again. Get out of that. Die. And you've probably noticed, and I may have mentioned before, Transmogrify is not active at the moment. Doesn't really need to be, that's fine. Quit lagging. I like to run with the helm off. If we got Transmogrify, I'd probably be running with either other helms for the most part, other gear pieces. But I like the Soulstone Transmog quite a bit. I enjoy that one. Okay, I'm all repaired. For my loadout here, Grim Scythe, Execution, which I'm probably going to change to Frost Scythe. Or actually Dual Scythe to group enemies a little bit better. I'm using Blood Rush Metabolism. It's going to cost 10% health, and that'll actually be something you'll notice this time around, because I'm not using the blood set, so my Blood Rush will cost me health. And trying to rely on that in a tight situation when you just don't have enough health, it won't let you use it. So you don't have to worry about accidentally killing yourself with a blood rush. It won't let you use it. So if you're relying on that to blood rush out of combat when you've got low health, no, good luck. I'm also not one to use cheat death passives. I'm also a casual player, so it doesn't really matter as much to me if I die, usually. And nobody likes this one. Everybody's really upset about this one. It's not very effective, and it needs to change. For the Necromancer, you've probably read this already, but I'm going to go over it real quick. For the Necromancer, Final Service, if you would take lethal damage, instead all minions are consumed and heal you for 10% of your health. This effect cannot occur more than once every 60 seconds. Now, I run some no-pet builds, and I really like my no-pet builds. I really do. I enjoy them. I enjoy the standalone passive. So the idea that Final Service requires you to have minions is bullshit, especially if you're a hardcore player. For a hardcore player, your cheat death passive is actually very important. As I've stated multiple times now, you die as a hardcore player, it's gone. And that can be a lot of progress that you've just lost. Want to make it clear, though, that if you earn Paragon levels as a hardcore player, let's say you earn 626 Paragon levels with a hardcore character, you keep those, and you keep anything in your stash. But the gear on your character's gone. It's fucked. Goodbye. So let's see here. I am using Draw Life to increase my life regeneration by 10% for every enemy within 20 yards, and that ends up being a lot of life regen. I don't know if that stacks with any of these characters that have, and every character has an ability like this. similar to this, gaining armor of some kind or more damage for more enemies around you. I don't know if that caps. I haven't thought to ask, but you know, whatever. Exploit weakness. Any enemy afflicted by my curse. I really don't think I want that one. Am I using any poison? No. Let's go with aberrant armor, because why the hell not? And then swift harvesting. It's just attack speed with my mana generator, or my essence generators. So using Death Nova, Bone Nova, very different than Blood Nova. It's not going to eat up my health. Bone Armor, I am using Vengeful Armaments to increase my damage. I'm using Bone Golem. Bone Golem looks really cool. If I haven't displayed it yet, you'll get to see it this time around. I actually really like the shit that comes out of the Scoundrel's mouth. So I'm also using Frailty, Aura of Frailty. And what Frailty does is it is an insta-kill. When an enemy hits 15% health, or they end up getting lower than that, they just die. They're gone. So it'll show up if you've got your numbers popping up for damage. It'll show up as a critical hit, and the more health that enemy has, the larger that number is gonna be. There are people critting in the trillions. I think somebody might have crit in the quads. So the numbers get obscene with this, and it's a very necromancer sort of skill to have. A Curse of Frailty. And there are definitely other runes, like, and they'll all do this, but for Scent of Blood, your minions are going to deal 15% more damage. Volatile Death, when they die, they blow the fuck up for 100% weapon damage on death. This one just straight up turns it into an aura. If I'm close to them, if I'm up there in the fray, they're cursed. So then we've got Harvest Essence. So when an enemy dies, you get 2 essence, and that can end up being a lot of essence real quick. I haven't really used it. I should probably test it out and like see how it feels. I just didn't feel the need to. I did play around with Early Grave a little bit, but I'm not real big on losing life to cast skills. Now, I did say in the last video that I loved the idea of it. In practice, for me personally, not so much a thing. I like to stay alive, even though there's no real penalty for dying as a casual player. I like to stay alive, I like to keep moving, I like to keep going. Why? Because I don't like to lose my procs down here on the bottom. I can't tell you how aggravating it is to gain your Bane of the Powerful proc from killing an elite just to die immediately after and you lose it. So we got this going on. In my cube, still using Broken Promises. I guess I don't really have anything on cooldown except for this guy and Bone Armor, which the cooldown is only 10 seconds. So damage against the least, I'm using Heart of Iron again, and Broken Promises, and I was hoping to be able to get my thorns up a little higher. If I recall, it was much higher wearing the pet set, but I didn't think I was gaining that much thorns from the armor itself. So we'll try that out. If we end up not liking it, there's definitely other abilities I can, items, legendary affixes that I can switch to. Illusory boots being actually a really nice one to have. Being able to walk unhindered through just like everything. I think it even allows me to walk through wallers, which is nice. Alright, so now that I've gotten that introduction out of the way, let's run a rift. And this one I can definitely go higher on. I know for a fact I can go higher on without any issue. And the rune that I've got on Death Nova, Bone Nova, is actually my favorite rune. It does plenty of damage, and it just looks cool. I like it. Boom.
I'm losing strength.
Oh, crap. Switching shit up too much. Survive at that checkpoint. Kinda gotta proc my bone armor. Boom.
Give it more time. The grave beckons.
Rocking focus restraint a lot, which is, you know, definitely handy for more damage. Lag. That should have picked up instantaneously.
Your death nears. I need essence.
Shit, get me out of there.
No. Your death nears.
So if that Thorns ends up being something that we don't want on here, we'll switch out the chip for Bane of the Powerful. It goes real nice with a lot of different builds. By all means, not a bad build. Let's show you something real quick. This is the bone skeleton and what it does. He's gonna come running out of nowhere to get up in everybody's business. And if you saw it there in the mayhem, he turned into his own little Boneado and rooted enemies in place. And he's supposed to pull them. I'm not always noticing that. But this is beta, it's a work in progress.
You will make a fine corpse.
Send him through again just so you can see that. See him move across the screen like that. When it cools down, I'll tell you before I do it, and we'll go one more time with that. As you can see, I got my Boneado going. It's just fun to say, it's a Boneado. Look at the detail in that. There's somebody's like pelvis just rolling around in there. Got some ribs.
Weakness consumes you. I must wait.
Yeah, no, this one is a lot of fun. At first, this one was my favorite, and we'll explain what happened there in the next video. I do heavily enjoy this one. I may have said in another video that this one was my favorite, but I am tired. Sleeping is something I keep, you know, forgetting to do. Refresh my bone armor. Don't want to lose that, or I'm a sitting duck. Mind you, I'm not shitting ducks, I'm a sitting duck. Fucking mouse.
Give it more time.
Alright, we're gonna cast it again now. Look at him, look at that guy. I like the way he looks. So we're gonna send him right up there. Boom. And look at that. He's got that Boneado going, and then he reforms.
The end is nigh. Do not fear the end.
Before the last update, corpses didn't spawn if you weren't using a corpse ability, and now they just kind of do. Which I suppose might have been causing some issues here and there. I don't know. I myself am not a coder. I'm not a programmer. I don't know the amount of work it takes to, you know, set up a little script that says a little if-then check on if corpse skill, then corpse. You know, I am not aware of the amount of work that goes into that.
I must wait. This world can abide you no longer.
Lost my proc there.
The Rift Guardian has arrived.
I must wait.
There we go. This armor just seems incredibly powerful to me. I really enjoy it. I like it. Oh look, I got me a set piece. see it side by side. Probably use the extra armor itself. Oddly enough, with the blood set, having more vitality doesn't matter all that much, because no matter which way you spin it, it's a solid percent of your health in blood costs. So, well, those don't have blood costs. Let's go here. Blood Nova is a 10% blood cost. Blood Spear is a 10% blood cost. Life Support is a 10% blood cost, right? Thy Flesh Sustained, 20% blood cost. Possession, 10% health. That doesn't change at all. So, you know, your command skeleton, kill command, does not have a blood cost. Alright, Army of the Dead, no blood cost. Really? Reanimation doesn't have a blood cost at all. Early Grave was a 10% as we went over earlier. Apparently not everything has blood cost. Corpse Explosion, Final Embrace, 3% life per corpse. Corpse Lance, Blood Lance, that's a 5% cost per corpse. Or is it per corpse? Yeah, that would probably be per corpse. Revive, Oblation, 3% per corpse. So those percentages, they're solid. What changes is the amount taken for that percent. So you're always going to be losing, you know, the same amount on your health globe. So stacking Vite, just, it doesn't matter. Oh, right. So stacking vitality doesn't really matter. What'll matter more is your armor itself. So getting that movement speed, that's pretty good, especially since this could easily be the farming set to just farm gear and farm blood shards and run quickly through stuff. I mean, you're getting every rune from your Blood Rush. This is not the video for that. So this will probably be our farming set. This one is quite clearly our melee set. We've got our pet set, and up next is going to be our ranged set. So stay tuned, that one's coming up next. What am I doing?
I need to go
Tried to
back.
do that last time too.